There we go. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time this morning to join me for this WebEx on custom links in both EBSCO Discovery Service and FullText Finder. And as you'll note on the slide, the title slide here, I really hope you had your coffee this morning. This is going to test my skill at translating a fairly complex system into something that is presentable. Like Jamie said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me as I go along. I'm happy being interrupted, or you can hold tight. There are a couple of natural breaks in this presentation that there would be a good time to jump in at too. I'm also going to be monitoring the chat, and I have the Q&A up as well, but again, if you are going to ask a question via chat or Q&A, please note that in the chat box you will need to switch that send to drop down to all participants or at least presenters in order for me to see it. I don't see it if you're just sending it to host. So let's get going. Let's talk about, I do want to split this up into two different distinct sections because administration of these links and understanding how they work, I have a mental model in my mind of how all of these links fit together and what the end user experience is when it comes to getting to full text or getting to interlibrary loan requests. And I'm going to try to share that with you. And the way that I think about these links, in large, I divide them into two completely separate buckets. They're the EDS, specific custom links, and then there are the FullText Finder custom links. And they are two completely separate and independent lists of links that a user might come in contact with. So I'd like to start off by talking specifically about the links that a user sees in EDS. So I'm going to take a specific example here. Let's say a user does a search on the effects of climate change, and this is the result that they get up at the top of the results set. So evaluating the effect of climate change on aerial reduction factors using regional climate model projections. Sounds thrilling. It appeared in the Journal of Hydrology from September of 2015, and the metadata for this particular record was found thanks in part to GeoRef being a part of the EDS Central Index. So a user found an article that looks just great for what they want. The next thing that we need to do, so after all that relevancy ranking happens to get this to number one, our next focus is on what link shows underneath that title. And one of the best features of EDS is its ability to link students to full text fairly seamlessly. But think about all the subscriptions that your library has access to. You likely get full text from hundreds of different providers. So there's a big challenge in figuring out what link to show here, considering your library subscribes to full text from hundreds of different companies out there. Open URL link resolvers like SFX, Serial Solutions 360 link, and FullText Finder are designed to work like this, where you put in all your subscriptions into the knowledge base and then it determines what link to give the user. But there are real problems with using link resolvers alone. So one thing we very well could do in EDS, and everybody could go do this out today if you really wanted to, is to show just your link resolver underneath every single article in EDS. That has some benefits in the sense that every single link would look exactly the same. It'd say FullText Finder there. But there are many problems with open URL resolvers, not just ours, but also SFX and 360. Studies have shown that open URL link resolvers can fail up to 33% of the time, and that can be due to a number of different factors. Sometimes the publishers don't even provide the capability of linking directly to an article. Sometimes the database, the knowledge base behind the link resolver is out of date, so maybe you haven't been keeping up to date with your knowledge base and you forget to mark something as subscribed or forget to unsubscribe to something in there, so that could become a problem. And sometimes the metadata that we have in EDS isn't complete or is slightly incorrect. That's a lot more rare than the other circumstances, but still inaccurate metadata could also cause open URLs to fail. I mean, you've all probably seen the scenario where a student clicks on an open URL link resolver, and instead of being taken directly to the article, is given that middle screen where they have to pick a bunch of different links. And then when they pick one, maybe they're not taken directly to the PDF, and instead they're kind of dropped off at the journal's homepage, or heck, maybe even the package's homepage. And so for that reason, OpenURL isn't the strongest mechanism of linking to full text. So this is where we introduce the real strength of EDS when it comes to full text linking, is that you don't have to use an open URL link resolver for each and every item on there. Now what this means is it's going to introduce more complexity for you as a library administrator, but for students and the end users, it's going to greatly simplify access to full text. And let's kind of dive into these things. So there are a number of different links that might appear underneath any given result in EDS. The best one, in my opinion, are smart links, and they look like this, and you probably see them all over your EDS instance. A smart link is when you do have that PDF document in one of your EBSCO host database subscriptions. So this particular article, you might have full text of this article in Academic Search Complete, or maybe you have it in Business Source Complete. But from one of your EBSCO databases, you do have a PDF document of it. So whenever you hear the term smart links, that means we found that PDF article in one of your EBSCO host database subscriptions, and we're able to show the direct link to the reader right here. This is often the best link to show to students because usability studies show that when they see that PDF icon, they immediately think, that's exactly what I want. It's like a magnet for their clicks. But I also want to note here that we are able to show the direct PDF link even when the result came from a different database. So you'll notice over here kind of where I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but it's kind of hovering over the last little bit of that line that describes where this article comes from, and it says database georef at the end. So you'll notice here that we got the metadata, all of the subject headings, the abstracts, and all of this content from the georef database, but we're able to find full text of that article over an Academic Search Complete. For the student, it just looks like I found the article, here's full text. So that's really the power of smart links in EDS, is a sense that it's a seamless experience connecting the metadata from an A&I provider like georef to a full text provider like Academic Search. So let's take a look at a different kind of link. Another link that you might see for an article is a Smart Links Plus link. And these are often labeled linked full text, like you see here on the screen. And the icon is slightly different. These appear when you've connected EDS to your EJS subscription services. So if you get your journals through EBSCO Journal Services, we are able to provide a link that's provided by the publisher right here underneath this particular article. Unlike an open URL link, these links are provided by the journal publishers themselves and go straight to the full text page of the article without having to look up what the link should be in a link resolver of some kind. These links open to the article on the publisher's website with an EDS header that goes along the top of the screen, allowing you to get back to your results after you're kind of done downloading or reading that article. And as a result, these are 100% accurate because of the underlying linking mechanism that are there. Again, these links appear when the article in question you don't have full text of through an EBSCO database, but you did subscribe to that journal through EBSCO Journal Services. And so using some backdoor linking mechanisms, we're able to provide you with a direct link to that PDF document or that document on the publisher's website right underneath the article here too. And again, these are linked full text. The slight difference between Smart Links and Smart Links Plus is Smart Links come out of an EBSCO host database. Smart Links Plus will pull that full text in from a different publisher's website. All right. The third kind of link that you might see underneath any given result are what are called custom links, and these is where the real complexity of this system comes in. Custom links are highly configurable links. It's probably best to use an example. So let's say you have Science Direct somewhere in your library. You subscribe to some subset of Science Direct journals. They've got a lot of articles in Science Direct that are not available in full text from Academic Search or Business Source. So we're not going to see a PDF icon here, a smart link icon here, appearing for these articles. And let's say you don't subscribe to Science Direct through EBSCO Journal Services. It's a package that you bought from Elsevier. So in that case, Smart Links Plus wouldn't come into play here, because this isn't a journal that you subscribe to from EBSCO Journal Services. So neither of those first two links I've shown make sense here. We don't have this article full text in Academic Search or Business Source or any of your EBSCO databases, and you did not subscribe to Sports Management Review here from EBSCO Journal Services. Instead, this is an article that you do have. It's just in your Science Direct package. So instead of just putting the open URL resolver here, though, there are many kinds of links, custom links that we can use to provide direct links to the full text. And these are often provided by the publishers themselves. So in this particular case of Elsevier Science Direct, when we get the metadata for Science Direct, when they send us all of the metadata for their articles in Science Direct, they also actually send us a direct link to the full text page on their platform. So if I were to click into the detailed record of this item, one of the metadata elements on the screen would be a URL that goes directly to Science Direct. Sometimes we show that in the detailed record, other times it's hidden if there's no authentication information on that link. But the moral of the story is when Elsevier gives us all their abstracts and indexes and titles, and in this case also full text of this particular article for searching purposes, they also include in that load of metadata the direct link to their platform for that article. So what we can do is take that URL that they gave us for this article, slap on your proxy prefix in front of it, and that's what we call the Science Direct custom link, and that's what we show here. This custom link is only programmed to show up when the result is part of the Science Direct package that you subscribe to, and there's a link to the full text record. There's a link to the full text in the record itself. We'll take a look at how to program these custom links in just a moment, but the idea here is we got this link from Elsevier, so when I click it, it's very, very likely going to go directly to the full text because these links don't change often and they're very, very consistent. Sometimes providers don't give us the direct link to their full text pages, but instead they give us how to build the URL to their full text. The prime example here is Gale resources. So for example, whenever Gale gives us their metadata for Business Insights or Gale Virtual Reference Library or InfoTrack, whenever they send us the metadata for that, they don't tell us what the URL for that particular article is on their platform. However, they did tell us that if you put the title here in the URL and you put the ISSN here in the URL, and you put the page number here. So they kind of describe to us how to build the URL using the metadata of the article itself to get to full text. Sometimes a publisher will tell us that, and that's how we'll decide what this link should be underneath this article. That's also a custom link. So in this sense, a custom link can be built of either an element from this record itself, or it can piece together like the journal name and the title and the ISSN of this record, maybe even the DOI of the record. We could build a URL using that metadata and show it here. So custom links are highly configurable in the sense that they can be anything you'd like. And you can specify when they should show up. So for example, this Science Direct link, I have a link defined in EBSCO Admin that's called my Science Direct custom link. And I say, go into the record, go to the URL element, put the proxy prefix in front of it, and that's the URL I want to show. But I don't want to do that for every single record in EDS. So I also specify only do it for articles that are in the Science Direct package that I subscribe to. That way, this full text from Science Direct link isn't showing up for articles that you don't subscribe to from Science Direct. Already it's kind of getting a little bit complicated, but I do have some things to show in just a bit that might help us understand where these things are. But long story short, these custom links that appear underneath results, they can have any icon that you'd want here, and they will go right to the publisher's platform, and they're fairly accurate. The only time these tend to break is when you've connected it. Typically, the most common thing we see is the custom link isn't keying off of the right subscription. So, for example, if this Science Direct was keyed off of the Science Direct Freedom Collection and not the full Science Direct package, that's a case where you wouldn't see this link appearing where you think it should be appearing. That's the most common problem we see with the links, is that they're just not keyed to show up when they're supposed to show up, or they're showing up when they're not supposed to show up. The syntax of the URL, so what URL we're actually showing, is often correct, and that is rarely wrong. The only time those go wrong is when a platform changes the way they link to their URLs. So, for example, if Elsevier all of a sudden decided, oh, our URLs aren't going to look like this, they're instead going to look like this. There may be a slight disconnect when they make that switch, and when the feed of metadata they give to us contains all of those new URLs. That happens very rarely. So what that means is these custom links are very, very accurate and get you directly to full text. The next kind of custom link I would like to show is that open URL link resolver. And actually, it's just a custom link. So what an open URL link resolver does, I'm sure most of you kind of already know how open URL works, is you have a link resolver and you feed it certain bits of metadata to help it determine where you get the full text from. So this is actually just a custom link that's pointing at your full text finder link resolver, that's passing in the journal name, the ISSN, the year, the page number, the volume, the issue, all of that data that's required by OpenURL. We're just building an OpenURL link here where the domain of that URL is your full text finder link resolver. So it's actually just another custom link in your EBSCO admin profile, and we'll take a look at that. Most libraries say, I only want this custom link to show up if I couldn't find a better link. If there's no smart link, there's no Smart Links Plus, there's no custom link that was provided by a journal publisher, then fine. We'll go ahead and show the full text finder link. But then, and only then, if it's actually a part of our library's collection too. So I don't want to show this for every single result that doesn't have a better link. I only want to show it for those results that will resolve to full text because I know it's a part of my collection. So that's kind of part of the rules of this link, is it's not keyed off of any particular package, like the Science Direct package or the Gale package. This is keyed off of, is it anywhere in my library's collection? Is there a better link already showing? And depending on the answers to those questions, that'll determine when this link will show up. So when a user clicks on this, they'll go off to the full text finder link resolver, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Other libraries actually decide to show this link even when the item is not a part of the collection. So you might imagine a scenario where there's no Smart Links or Smart Links Plus, so there's no great PDF documents there, and there's no great publisher-provided custom link. Some libraries decide, you know what, let's just show this full text finder link resolver for every other result, even those things we may not have, because our link resolver will get them into interlibrary loan if that's where they end up needing to go. Plus, we can provide a bunch of other different options on that screen if we need to. So there are actually a couple of different scenarios that I've seen libraries implement with a link resolver. The bulk of them say only show the link resolver if we know it's going to resolve to full text afterwards. And I'll show you how that bit works in a moment. So the other kind of link that we might see, and this is the last kind of link I'll show you here, is, again, just another custom link, but it's the request via interlibrary loan custom link. This link can go to a form like Iliad or whatever interlibrary loan system you're using and pre-fill out that form on behalf of the user. Again, it's similar to an open URL in the sense that we take the journal name, the title, the volume, the issue, all of those things you'd want to fill out in an interlibrary loan request. We build a URL that points at your interlibrary loan system, and that's where we send the user to. We can even do things like key off of the publication type. So if you've got a form for books in Iliad and you've got a form for articles in Iliad, we can actually pay attention to this publication type to determine how to build this URL here. So for example, we could say, I know Iliad has something that like one of the URL parameters is form equals 10 for books and form equals 11 for articles, and that determines which form the user is presented. We can actually key that into these custom links as well. And hopefully this kind of gives you a sense that all these custom links are extremely customizable, not only with what the URL actually is, but when they actually show up. This one in particular should likely be keyed to only when an item is not a part of the library's collection. That way you don't see this showing up for things that you do subscribe to. Now again, if you are seeing these interlibrary loan links appear for things that you don't expect them to appear for, the most common problem there is it's not appropriately keyed to that set of elements that are not a part of your library's collection. And we'll talk again a little bit more about how you define, well, what collection is it looking at when it determines whether this link should show up or not. And we'll get to that. Sometimes there are multiple full text links that could apply. So let's take this example of this article. Let's say you have it in academic search, but you know what? It's also part of your library's collection. I mean, by virtue of it being in academic search, it is a part of your library's collection. So in that case, there are two potential links here that could show up for this particular article. That smart link from academic search or wherever this article's full text was in an EBSCO database. But then the full text finder link also makes sense here because this article is part of your library collection. Some libraries decide, I want to show every single link that could possibly result in full text underneath each and every article. And what that means is some articles might have, 3 or 4 links underneath them. You might imagine an article that we get from Science Direct, from academic search. In that case, in this particular scenario, you'd have 3 different links under here. One that goes off to the PDF document in academic search, one that is a custom link that jumps out to Science Direct's platform, and one that's a full text finder link because it knows it's part of your collection. That's fine if you want to show all of them. From a user experience perspective, if we're taking that particular approach, typically showing only one is the right choice. Because users get confused when there are multiple full text links appearing underneath an article. They're not sure which one's which. Actually, with what you're looking on the screen, I'm 100% sure they're going to click on that PDF full text link anyways because it's got the PDF icon on there. However, when there are more links, it just kind of adds to their cognitive load in trying to figure out how to use this library system. Now they've got to grapple with which of these links is going to actually get me to the goal. So I do recommend only showing one, and I'll explain how you can decide which one to show. So actually that brings me to the next case. These are reorderable. So if you do decide to show multiple links, you can actually decide, I want that full text finder link to show first, and I want that PDF link to show last. So all of the links that we have in EDS, you can sort. So we've got this massive list of the EBSCO PDF full text. We've got the linked full text, the Smart Links Plus. We've got all of those publisher-provided custom links. We've got your full text finder link. We've got your interlibrary loan link. You can actually order those and prioritize those so you know which order they need to appear in when they actually show up on the screen. That order will also come into effect when you say only show one. So if you say only show one, that means it's going to go down the list in prioritized order. The first one that it hits, that applies, it's going to show, and it's not even going to bother going to look for other custom links at that point because it found one that should be right. So that's how these custom links work on which one's going to appear. So let's actually take a look at the back end of this a little bit. Here in EDS, I'm in EBSCO Admin, and I've got an EDS profile pulled up on the screen. And in an EDS profile, you'll notice all of the different tabs there. The one we're focusing on today is the linking tab. And in the linking tab, I've clicked on Modify Custom Links. And that's what's brought me to this screen. What I'm looking at here on this screen are all the custom links that are applied to this specific profile. This is where you can set the order or ranking of your custom links. So you notice that column on the left that has numbers there of 0, 1, 3, 4, 5. They don't have to be in strict numerical order here. You'll notice I jump from 8 to 26. So if they are the same number, it'll go in alphabetical order. So you can set the order of these things the way you want them to appear. And here you can see I've got the EBSCOhost full text PDF link first. I've got the EBSCOhost linked full text second. So this is the Smart Links up at the top. The Smart Links Plus is the one in the second line here. And then I've just got a smattering of publisher-provided custom links. I was using Science Direct as my example, but there are lots of available custom links. A lot of our publisher providers help us by giving us those direct links to their full text. So you see things like Alexander Street Press, ArtStore, even open access resources like Archive have helped us determine how to link directly to an article that's on that open access collection. So you'll see all of these custom links here that are applied to this particular profile. So when we're looking at a particular article, it's going to go down this list, and the first one that it hits, it's going to show first, and it's going to keep on going. Oh, this article was an archive and is an EBSCOhost full text PDF document. So it's going to show the EBSCOhost full text one first, the archive one second, because that's the order they're in here. If you do select, let's go down to the bottom of this list here. If you do select show first available full text link only, it'll actually stop at that first one because it found an appropriate full text link. So it'll never even get to the archive row here because it found an appropriate full text link here already. So one thing that you are able to do, again, is sort and decide how many of these that you want to show up in full text. All right, so let's keep on moving along here. One thing I want to point out is in this particular screen, what we're actually looking at is which ones are on your profile. You can remove the custom links over here on the right-hand side, and we've had libraries remove them when they've noticed something is problematic. You remember how the full text link resolver, the open URL link resolver, is at the bottom of this list? That means if you do have a bunch of Bio1 online journals, removing this full text link here, even though this is a more direct link to the Bio1 online journals, your user is still going to get the full text because even though it will skip over this because it's not there anymore, it's eventually going to hit your full text finder link resolver, and it's going to say, oh yeah, they have this journal, and then it'll use your link resolver to get over to full text. So even if you had none of these in here, that link resolver should still get your user to full text. These custom links just happen to be more direct, which is why we like including them on EDS profiles. Clicking X over here on the right-hand side will remove it from that profile. That said, you may have multiple EDS profiles out there, so this will be a little diagram of how these custom links actually work. Let's imagine you have 3 profiles in your EBSCO admin account. You've got your EDS profile that all your students are interacting with, but let's say one of your education liaison librarians built an EDS profile specifically for education students. They did that because they didn't want to include all of the different databases that are in the main one. They wanted a subset, and maybe they wanted an extra widget that was specific for education students and a different branding or whatever. For some reason, you have 2 EDS profiles. And then you also have your kind of regular EBSCOhost databases profiles, which actually has a custom link section too. So let's keep that in the back of our mind, is that EBSCOhost databases use the same custom linking technology that EDS does, with the exception of EDS has all of these publisher-provided custom links, and typically the EBSCOhost databases don't have those there. But if we take a look at this, if I were to click on this, if I were to take a look, there are actually account custom links. So the Science Direct definition that I said, okay, I have a Science Direct custom link. I only want it to show up when it's part of the Science Direct package, and I want it to use the link that's in the record itself. That's defined for your entire account. So your account has a canonical Science Direct custom link, and you have included that in both your EDS profile and your EDS profile for education students. So a copy, actually that's a lie, and that's where I think a lot of us get into trouble here, is it's not a copy that's put into your profiles. By adding this custom link to this profile and this profile, both of these profiles are using this custom link that's in your account. And that's important, and I'll describe why in a second. But JSTOR is the same way. Here I've got a JSTOR in this EDS profile and a JSTOR in this EDS profile. But let's say I use this X button when I'm in my EDS profile. If I use my main one, if I'm in my main EDS profile here and I click on that X, it will get rid of that JSTOR custom link from my EDS profile, but you'll notice in my profile for education students, that one's still there. The JSTOR link remains here because I didn't really do anything to my account JSTOR custom link. I edited my profile. I didn't even touch the JSTOR custom link that's over here on the right-hand side of the screen. So when I click on the X when I'm in an EDS profile, that means I'm only removing that custom link from being a part of this profile. However, if I go into my account custom link screen, and I'll show you how to get to that in a second, and I decide to delete this JSTOR profile from my account, it's actually going to get rid of the JSTOR custom link on all of my profiles. So that's a key thing to note about your custom links, especially when you're kind of tinkering with custom links, is if you're tinkering around with just adding custom links to profiles and removing them, that's fine. If you're tinkering around in your account custom links, that can be dangerous. Because if you decide to change something to test something out about your FullText Finder custom link, that's actually going to impact both EDS profiles and your EBSCO host databases because you've got that custom link on each one. So it's important to realize where these custom links are in your profiles before you do some edits to the account level custom link. If you really want to test out some new links, I recommend creating a new test link over here in the account custom links and then adding it to the profile that you want to test it on. That way you're not manipulating kind of the canonical custom links that are there. You can get to these account custom links. So here I'm just in my EDS profile. So if I click on remove here, it's not going to impact those canonical custom links. But if I click on this setup and maintain custom links link at the top here, that's going to take me to this list of canonical custom links here. You'll notice one of the key differences here is that these are clickable links, whereas back in the EDS profile, they're not clickable. So that's one way you can kind of orient yourself in terms of, am I working with the canonical ones that are for my entire account, or am I just working on the ones for a profile? So if you can click on the link itself, that means you're working on the custom links for your entire account, and you should be careful. If you click on remove here for one of these items, you will be doing that scenario where you remove JSTOR from here, you've just removed JSTOR from all profiles using that particular custom link. So you ought to be careful when you're on this particular screen. Now then again, you can click on add new custom link at the top to try things out without impacting any of your profiles, but this is again where you'll find that thing. And then the last thing we'll talk about in terms of these EBSCO Discovery Service custom links, these EBSCO Admin custom links, is if you do click on one of them. So let's imagine I scrolled down to the Science Direct one here and I clicked on it. This is what I'll see in this particular custom link. I will get the name of the link as it appears. It helps me identify it. What kind of link it is. I'm going to gloss over this for now, but generally these are full text. If it's leading to a full text, I'll explain why that's important a little bit later. I do highly recommend that you leave these things as EBSCO managed links. The reason you want to do that is if Science Direct changes their URLs. If you have made this link your own and you're managing it yourself, that means whenever we go in and change the way that the Science Direct custom link builds its link, you're going to miss out if it's not an EBSCO managed link. So I highly recommend not toggling this to make it your own link unless you clearly know what you're doing it for and you're going to keep on top of the changes when it comes to the links to Elsevier Science Direct in this particular case. But generally the rule is don't change this from an EBSCO managed link. You can, even leaving it as an EBSCO managed link, you can change the icon. So here I decided I didn't like having no icon, so I made my own little full text icon and put in a URL to it there. I'm going to ignore the base URL and query string. I don't recommend you mess with those unless you are just a coder and curious about how we build these links. But if you were to read through this, you'd see that, okay, if the result is coming from the Science Direct batch of metadata that we got, then use the URL that's in that one. And if it's not, but it's still part of your collection, then build a URL that goes to ScienceDirect. Again, you don't need to understand that bit clearly in order to get how these things work. The part that is important, though, is as we scroll down to advanced settings, is this show link. And here you'll notice I've selected, I only want to show the ScienceDirect link if the item is in the collection, and you'll notice that I have Elsevier ScienceDirect selected. And it says system in that parentheses. That means it's leveraging EBSCO's managed ScienceDirect list of journals and, you know, the embargoes and all of that stuff. We know what's in ScienceDirect, and we remain constantly in contact with Elsevier about what's part of the ScienceDirect package. So whenever you select, I only want to show the ScienceDirect link if the item is in the collection ScienceDirect, that means this link that jumps you out to ScienceDirect is only going to show up when it's part of that collection. And this is where we often see links go wrong, is they've got the wrong collections selected here. And that means that link will be showing up when it shouldn't be, or it's not showing up when it should be because the right collections aren't selected in this local collections for filter. All of that said, okay, we've kind of come to the end of this custom links and EDS thing. Is you should rely on EBSCO support for taking care of these links. You are not required to do any of this. In fact, if you would just like to send in a request saying, hey, my ScienceDirect custom links aren't working, please fix them, our support team should be able to handle that. In fact, if you'd like to go through, I'm not sure, actually I forget if, and maybe Jamie or Lisa can answer. I don't know if those requests actually go through your Lewis ticketing system instead of going directly to EBSCO support. I'm not exactly sure how you guys handle that kind of stuff.
It all depends. Some of them work directly with EBSCO, and then some reach out to us first. So.
Okay. Well, in either case, don't expect that you yourselves as individual librarians need to be completely comfortable with this kind of thing. If you can just describe to us what's happening, we should be able to help you figure out where in this grand scheme of things are things going wrong. So let's give you some big picture here. All we've talked about so far is EBSCO Discovery Service, and we've talked about a handful of different types of links that are there. We've got the Smart Links Plus, which goes to a PDF. So you might imagine the student going into your library website, they do a search, they find an article, ideally they see a Smart Links there, and that takes them over to the PDF document. Alternatively, they see a Smart Links Plus, and that takes them right to the PDF document. Maybe they see one of those ScienceDirect custom links, and that takes them right to the PDF document. So all of this work that we do, making sure these custom links are correct, lead to this kind of experience for students, where all they're seeing are PDF documents as they go through and click on the links. And that's the ideal scenario, where the complexity on the back end is resulting in a great amount of simplicity for the student on the front end. And then finally, if none of those links apply, we can show an open URL custom link that goes into your link resolver, which then bounce out to the FullText link. We haven't talked about that box yet, but it's much more simple than EDS, so it's not going to take nearly as long to go through that piece. And then finally, if none of those links make sense, we can jump you out to whatever interlibrary loan system you have and pre-populate that form. So now would be, well, let me get through this too, because there's a big picture at the end of this, and then we can kind of just open it up generally for questions. So let's think about custom links in FullText Finder. And I think there is a problem with our labeling of these things, because they're called custom links in FullText Finder, but they're also called custom links in your EBSCO admin profile, when in reality they are in no way intertwined with one another. So all of the linking that we've talked about, set it aside for now. All of that's managed in EBSCO admin in that linking tab. Here, now we're moving over to FullText Finder and the links that appear whenever a student clicks on that open URL link resolver. So let's say they did get to that open URL link resolver. The custom links that FullText Finder has show up on this screen, that middle screen that shows up whenever they're trying to go through FullText Finder to get to full text. So how do they relate to EDS custom links? They don't. at all. There is zero correlation between the links that appear in FullText Finder that you've defined there and the links that you've defined in EBSCO Admin. The only connection between EDS and these links is if the link that we ended up having to show to users in EDS was that open URL link resolver. When they click on it, they're taken here and provided with a list of links that are also called custom links in FullText Finder. These custom links are configured for FullText Finder and don't come into play ever if the EDS user managed to find a Smart Link or Smart Links Plus or a Science Direct custom link. They never even see these custom links at that point. So from purposes of separating these things out, imagine that EDS user that did find one of those first 3 better custom links, they never interact with these custom links. It's only those users that were jumped over into FullText Finder. So hopefully we've got that separated out in our heads. Now the places that you go to manage the links that show up on this FullText Finder link resolver screen is actually in the Holdings Management tab of EBSCO Admin. So we're in a completely different place now. We're not in a profile anymore. We're now managing your holdings and your knowledge base here. And you'll see these links. So I'm here at the Gale Virtual Reference Library package, and at the bottom here you'll see a base URL and a query string. Again, these are things that EBSCO should be filling in for you. You should not be messing with these on your own, but this is where those links are actually defined, is here. This means if we get an open URL request for an item that appeared in this particular package, we're going to use this base URL and this query string to construct the link that we're going to send the users out to. Now, the one benefit of using this particular system is you can have custom links for every single one of your resources, including ProQuest packages and non-partner packages. So for all of those things we couldn't link you to in EDS, like the ProQuest things where they don't give us the right link to build to it, we can link to them from FullText Finder. And that's really where link resolvers come into play, is when they're in EDS and find something that's not from a partner database, they have to go through the link resolver to get out there. You can determine, so I'm going to pop back here to this screen. You'll notice here in this particular screenshot, we've got 2 different links here up at the top. One is a Smart Links Plus link. That means you subscribe to this particular Business Week journal from EJS, so we are able to provide you with that Smart Links Plus link. And we also see that you have that title in LexisNexis, so we can provide you with that custom link here too. This may seem confusing because why didn't the Smart Link Plus appear in EDS? Well, in this particular screenshot, they may have come from somewhere else. They may have come from Google Scholar to get here. Maybe they came from JSTOR to get here, or one of your ProQuest databases. Remember, your link resolver doesn't just serve EDS. It's actually serving all of your other places where you've embedded your link resolver too. So you may occasionally, I agree, you probably would have just stayed in EDS and seen that Smart Link there, and would have never actually gotten to this screen from EDS. So I'm thinking this screen is showing up because they were in JSTOR or Google Scholar, found this, clicked on the FullText Finder link in that resource, which then took them here, and it noticed, oh, you do have this from EGS, and gives you the link over to the FullText in that way. So with that particular screen, you have a couple of options here. The one we see that's most popular is the one that's kind of highlighted on the screen here, where it says automatically open to FullText. If you set that to yes, they will actually never see that middle screen if there is a FullText custom link there. It'll just forward them automatically to that first available custom link. And I say first available because just like in EBSCO Admin, in Holdings Management, you can also sort and order the links that you have populated in Holdings Management. And that's done using the links kind of tab up here, kind of at the top of the screen. It's kind of cool. Just notice if I shake my mouse, that cursor gets bigger. Okay, weird things. So if I choose yes here, it's going to automatically forward to them that. I can also decide to show only one link on that screen if I do want to show them that screen still. And if I select yes here, it's going to go down that list and show only the first one. This will tell it whether it should show coverage dates and what format that date should be in. So there's some options here that you can set for the way FullText Finder is going to behave. This is your FullText Finder profile. So just in the same place where you go to edit your EDS profile, you can come here and edit your FullText Finder profile to find these different options for this. Clicking on Links Management here actually just takes you to this screen. So that's another shortcut to get to that link screen, is just to go to your FullText Finder dropdown and click here. This goes the same place as clicking on Holdings Management and clicking on Links. So two ways to get to the same list here. So let's build a bigger picture here. So again, I'm going to bring in EBSCO Discovery Service that has its Smart Links, its Smart Links Plus, its custom links that are publisher provided, and then the case where we send a user out to open URL. Now here, let's flesh out this bit a little. So FullText Finder has its own list of custom links that are there, and at this point, we're matching against those. Typically, these are matched using the knowledge base behind FullText Finder. So it gets in a citation in open URL format. Okay, I know I'm looking for Business Week. I know I'm looking for the April 26th edition from 2014. I know what page I'm looking for. So it's going to go into your knowledge base, find what package you have that article through, and it's going to pick out the right custom link for that particular item. In fact, if you have it through multiple packages, it's going to pick out all the relevant links there, and then it's going to rely on those options you set in FullText Finder to determine whether just to shoot your user through to that article or to show them the potential links that they could get to. So hopefully, this just pushes them right through to the FullText document at that point on whatever platform this item is on. The next thing and then finally, going back to EDS, is if you've configured this FullText Finder to only show up when you know it's going to be resolving to full text, then instead of showing that link, it'll show an ILLiad link when it already knows that sending them over to your custom link is kind of it's not going to work. So let's imagine the other scenario where you decide, you know what, if there's no smart link, there's no Smart Links Plus, there's no better custom link that were provided by the publisher, I want everybody else to go through the link resolver, because the link resolver can actually have an ILL link defined. You can also define other kinds of links, like check Google Scholar. So there are circumstances where, people just post these documents to the web. And if you want to provide your users with a link that just says, hey, check Google Scholar before you give up or before you Interlibrary loan this thing, you can do that in FullText Finder, where it says, okay, any request that comes in, always show the check Google Scholar link regardless of what other links appear. So here they might get to a full text link, but if that full text link isn't there, maybe they can go either through ILLiad or that link does a title search in Google Scholar. And again, the key thing to remember about defining the links in FullText Finder is that all of these other platforms also use FullText Finder too. You might have your FullText Finder link resolver embedded in Google Scholar, in JSTOR, in ProQuest, in Web of Knowledge. So there are a lot of places people might be coming through FullText Finder and never interact with EBSCO Discovery Service. So that's why you've got these FullText custom links defined in FullText Finder as well. I think the real key thing here to know, though, and hopefully this gives you an idea of how all these pieces work together, but the real key thing here is work with support to figure out what's actually going on with a link, because there are a number of things that could happen. I do have a list of questions and some questions that have come in, so I'm going to start answering those because I've kind of reached the end of my slide deck. So I've got a question here on, we've had an issue with FullText Finder links conducting an accession number search in EDS or publication finder after clicking instead of resolving to the resource. What does this indicate? Well, that tells me that whatever, actually I'm going to ask for clarification on this. So we've got a FullText Finder link. I'm curious as to where, how the user got into FullText Finder to begin with. Did they come in through a Google Scholar, or are they going in through EDS, getting a FullText Finder, and then it's just getting kicked back to EDS?
Yeah, we were, I was helping troubleshoot, I think it was Nichols, I was helping them troubleshoot some issues. This is Jamie, by the way. And we were doing a search in both EBSCO hosts, the EBSCO host databases, and in EDS, because we were trying to get the custom links to display properly. And when full text came up, if you click their full text, it would send you out to a menu. And then when we would click, I can't remember exactly what resource it was. When we would click it, it would basically just send us right back to EDS trying to do an AN search with no results.
So what that tells me, just on that description alone, is that in your holdings management knowledge base, there is something in there that is saying, oh yeah, they have this, it's through academic search, or it's through one of the EBSCO databases, so it constructs that accession number search for that particular item and kicks you back to EBSCO host. But EBSCO host, you don't actually subscribe to it. So whenever you get there, it just says, oh no, we don't have this, I'm going to send you right back to FullText Finder. So what it sounds like to me is that either we've got your subscriptions incorrect in EBSCO host and you should have access to that stuff, or the definition of what you have subscribed to is incorrect in holdings management, and it's saying you have it through EBSCO host when you actually don't. So it's one of those two things, and I need to take a closer look at the specific title to get an idea of how that's working. But when you see loops like that, so if any of you out there encounter a loop between FullText Finder and EBSCO host, the likely cause is holdings management thinks you have something in EBSCO host when you actually don't, or EBSCO host doesn't know you're actually subscribed to something and you really are, and there's some access issue on the EBSCO host end. Does that make sense?
Yes, that absolutely clarifies. That at least gives us a starting point of where to look.
Right, and I hate to say this about troubleshooting these particular links, but often that's the best you are going to be able to do individually is at least get that starting point. And to be honest with you, it really helps, I think, to know those starting points. If we can tell that, okay, we've got a loop here, that helps initiate that conversation with support.
Yes, absolutely.
Same thing with all of, let me pull up another document. Feel free to punch in some questions in that chat box while you can. I'm actually going to stop sharing real quick and pull up another document on my own screen that has some questions that came in earlier. So again, feel free to punch in or unmute and chat too. That's also fine. But let me, feel free to ask while I'm pulling up this list of questions here that I got earlier. 1 second, here we go.
Yes, and everybody, just remember, if you are trying to ask a question, you'll need to unmute yourself first because I muted everybody.
Eric.
Hey, Lisa.
I got a question about Gale. I think I'm getting a better understanding here, but I'm a little confused about Gale. Now, as far as I know, Gale products have to use OpenURL, most of their products. And if that is correct, then you would never see a Gale custom link in the EDS profile or in your account in the EDS. It'd only be in the holdings management side. Is that correct?
Not exactly. They do use OpenURL in the sense that they have their own kind of local resolver on Gale's side, where if you feed it OpenURL kind of metadata in the URL, it should be able to take you to that article. So, in fact, this may be a good opportunity. Let me share my desktop here, and we're actually going to take a look at this as a use case for these custom links. So let me escape out of this. Let me go into, let me pull this over real quick, and I'm going to go into, I may have been timed out here, but let me check anyways. I'm going to go up to EBSCO Admin. And you know what, I'm just going to go to Louisiana State University, go into their accounts, go into linking.
Actually, if you go into Louisiana State University at Eunice, they seem to have a lot of issues with Gale. So, you know, I think they'd be a good test case to look at.
All right, let's take a look at LSU Eunice here. I'm going to go into EDS. I'm going to go into linking. Let me make this a bit bigger so we can all kind of see this a little bit easier. So again, I'm in the linking tab, and I'm going to go to custom links modify. This particular screen, the only thing I'm going to see here is which links are applied to this account. Now I'm going to scan down this first so I know which links to look at whenever I go into the account list of custom links. So I can see here, I'll just take this one as an example. we've got, actually let's take the broader one here that covers a lot more stuff. I'm going to be looking to figure out what's wrong with the Gale Cengage Learning Academic One File GVRL-updated 08-2015, and then the customer number here. So this is the exact label I'm going to be looking for when I go into my main account, my account list of custom links to troubleshoot.
And there may not be anything wrong with it at this point.
Well, I think it'll still be helpful, though. I think this is a good use case to check out and see what's going on. So you'll notice here that there are probably going to be multiple Gale links here. So we've got, so there's the one that we're gonna be dealing with, but there may be other ones if we got, I'm not going to say lazy, but if sometimes we will leave other ones in here while we're testing, one to make sure we fix the problem. So if you happen to see multiple copies of Gale Cengage Learning here, as long as you're not seeing multiple copies on your profile, it's probably fine. But the trick is knowing which one is actually on your profile so you know which one to go in and look to try to troubleshoot. So I know that this is the one that's in that EDS profile, so I'm going to click on it. You mentioned that Gale only accepts open URLs, and that is correct. If I were to take a look at any Gale resource in EDS, you're not going to find a URL in that record. So if you go to the detailed record of any result that comes out of Gale, there's not going to be a URL in there, and that's frustrating because it'd be nice just to send users to that link with your proxy on it. Instead, Gale has told us just build an open URL styled link and make the endpoint of it go.galegroup.com/ps/i.do. I have no idea what this is, but it's something on Gale's website that if you feed this website some open URL type of data, it should be able to get you to the article on their platform. So you see here that we are sending the user through Eunice's easy proxy to get to galegroup.com, and then here's where the real interesting thing comes in. The query string is what we are feeding to this URL. So we are feeding it. You'll notice that this is LLN_LSUE. That probably stands for Louisiana Library Network _LSU Eunice. That's your Gale ID. So that's how it knows the user coming in is from that and whose collection to check. This is where it gets real interesting here. Anytime you see a curly brace, this means we are pulling some information out of the record itself. So here we're saying if this is a GVRL record, then we're going to put an ID equals Gale. You don't really need to read through all of this, but if you were to copy this all, you would start seeing things like we're going to pass it an ILS record number. Not an ILS record number. This is usually the individual accession number for that item. So this is strange. It looks like this is different from the last time I looked at it, and it's probably because Gale has actually provided an easier way to link to their stuff by having an accession number to look for rather than an open URL. So let's take a look at one of these records. I'm curious now. Let's see how this translates. So I'm going to go back to LSU Eunice's website, Louisiana State Univ at Eunice. I'm going to go into their EDS platform, and we'll see what happens. EDS, I'm going to view changes. I'm going to do a search for fruits. Hit search. And I'm going to limit to academic one file or something like that that's a Gale product. So let's let this search. Okay, content provider. Let's just do general one file here. Okay. So as I scroll through this list, I see a lot of things without links here. So actually that makes me think I did not even check to see what collection we are basing this off of. So let me go back here to linking, modify, set up and maintain custom links, go into that one, go down and see, all right, this link should be appearing for Gale General 1 file here, but only if the item is in the collection. And I noticed that here we've said only show this item. Looks like it was only selected Gale Virtual Reference Library here. So this is only actually for GVRL titles. Because if I look at Gale here, none of these things are selected, and I bet General One file isn't selected either. Do you guys subscribe to General One file?
Hey, Eric.
Yo.
They don't have access to one file. We have Literature Resource Center, biography and context, and a subset of GVRL only.
Okay. Well, actually, then this is working as designed. At first, I was like, why aren't there any Gale custom links showing up? And that's because you don't subscribe to those General One file records. And that's why it's not selected here in the local collections for filter. So this link, actually, I did a bad example here, is I limited to General One file, and you don't subscribe to that from Gale, so you're not going to see the Gale custom link show up. What's nice is we're still able to leverage that metadata to get you records that you do subscribe to. And in this case, for example, this is one of those smart links where it said, okay, we got this metadata for a record from General One file, but the PDF of this you actually have through academic search. So we were able to provide that link there. Let me take a look at a different subset then. Let me go to Literature Resource Center. I'm hoping there's something written about fruits in Literature Resource Center. Let's see. If not, literary is that's the Gale one, right? Literary reference. Oh no, it's Literature Resource Center. That's the Gale one. I'm not a content guy, so I always forget which one's ours and which one's theirs. All right, so here we are. I'm actually seeing a link that says View Record within Literature Resource Center here. And if we take a look at this one, I'm going to copy that link location. And I'm going to go to encoder, decoder real quick. Let's take a look at that link, and let me decode this. This is the URL. Let me delete this out. This is the URL that we're sending a user to when they click on that link. We're going through the Unis Easy Proxy. We're sending them to find.galegroup.com/openurl/openurl ? And then you'll notice some of the metadata from that article is here, an ISSN, set of page numbers, what issue, what volume. We've got the article title here, Forging Ahead in Baines, Cuba. We've got the journal title, New West Indian Guide. And we've got what kind of thing it is, academic journal. We've got the author of the article. So you'll see that we did kind of construct an open URL request, but instead of sending that through the link resolver, Gale has its own way of taking that open URL metadata and linking you directly into that particular article. So in this particular case, let's take a look at the Literature Resource Center link instead of this Gale Cengage Learning one. I've got two here, so I need to figure out which one is actually on this profile. So let me go back to Customize Services, see the list of applied links. I see that the one that says 08-2015 is the one that's actually on this profile. So if I go back to that main list here and go down to Literature Resource Center, there's the one with 08-2015. So this is the actual link that's showing up in their profile. So when I click on it, I'll get details here. I can see that, oh, look, with the mouse over text, has an asterisk on it. So that's how I can tell. If I roll my mouse over this, you'll notice that in the hover, there's an asterisk there over that link. So I know I'm working with the right link here. Here I can see that this is only going to appear for records that come from Gale Literature Resource Center. Again, you don't need to be able to read this, but this is one limiter here. So this is going to prevent this View in Literature Resource Center link from showing up for anything that's not metadata that comes from their database. The other limiter we have here is say only show this link if the item is in the collection Literature Resource Center. So that's what's controlling this particular one. It looks like it is working correctly, although I don't have easy proxy credentials to get in there. But from what I can see is we have determined this link should only show up when the article in question is part of that Literature Resource Center subscription, and the metadata itself comes from Literature Resource Center. And we are kind of building an open URL style link, but it's not actually going to our open URL link resolver, it's going to Gale's, and they're getting you to full text at that point. Yeah, I'm not sure if that helps answer the question of what's actually going on behind the scenes. Let's see. Does that help at all? If I were discovering this was going somewhere it shouldn't be going, one thing I'd almost, if I were diagnosing it, I'd almost consider it based on what I just saw about this link. I would almost think there's something wrong with Literature Resource Center at that point. It's not showing me metadata that I should, or perhaps the metadata that Gail sent us, and this is not this is not unheard of, but there are occasions where they will send us somewhat messy metadata. So if the issue number is incorrect here, that won't resolve correctly. So if the metadata they sent us is not accurate, then that link we build will not be accurate. So sometimes that's where the problem lies too.
So give me a quick, I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused. So when is the link that's in HM, Holdings Management, being used?
So it's never going to get used, I would think, for Literature Resource Center results when you're coming in through EDS, because we've got a better custom link for it right here. The time when it would show up is if we got, well, one case is if you came in through an EBSCO host database. So you came in through Academic Search and you had that item through Literature Resource Center. Your EBSCO plain databases will go through FullText Finder, find that Lit Resource Center link there, and then jump out to it. So that's one scenario where the holdings management link would be used, is if you were never interacting with EDS in the first place, you'd never interact with these EDS custom links. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is if I did not limit to Literature Resource Center. So let's actually try something here. Let me go back, and I'm actually going to try to find an example of this. I want to find an article that I know you get through Lit Resource Center. So let me go to Literature Resource Center here. I'm going to find, let's try this Sleepless, well, I wonder if there's an article, the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to copy this title here. I'm just going to do a new search, clear my search things, and do a Guide to the Fruits of Hawaii. All right, so actually we had that one in better, we have that on our own platform. What I'm trying to do is, if I were not limited to Literature Resource Center, and instead I were limited to some other database, like let's say I limited myself to MOS Ultra. In this case, there's a PDF document, but if there wasn't, I'm not going to show that Literature Resource Center custom. Well, I am technically, because this is out of that. It's going to be very rare that you're going to be using that holdings management link from EDS. It's much more common to be using that link if you're coming from any other resource besides EDS that doesn't have this set of its own custom links. There's rare circumstances where I got the metadata from GeoRef, for example, and we didn't have it from, the SmartLink didn't match, the SmartLink Plus didn't match. In that case, if the database that we got the metadata from is GeoRef, then the Literature Resource Center link isn't going to match either. The reason it's not going to match is we put in a specific limiter that said, I only want this Lit Resource Center custom link in EDS to show up if the metadata itself is from Lit Resource Center. So in that particular scenario, if this had been from GeoRef and we didn't have a SmartLink Plus, or a GeoRef specific custom link, then we'd end up showing the FullText Finder link here that would jump out. Notice that you did actually have this article in Lit Resource Center, and then you would end up using that holdings management link to get there. As you can see, I've been doing this for a while, so I've got a handle on it. I completely understand if it's a bit dense, because it frankly is. But what results here, what's nice about this is, oh look, PDF, I can click on it. The end user never notices this stuff, but I realize it is difficult for you all trying to diagnose the issue.
Thank you, that does help.
Let's see, I am going to, and the session is being recorded too, you guys, so if I know I'm going over my allotted time, so if you want to come back and listen to this last bit, I am going to plow through all the questions though. That way I answer them all on recording. That way you can hold me to it later. So I'm going to go through a couple of questions I got earlier. How do you know when a custom link is required? They never really, well, I guess it depends. In EDS, they never really are. You could literally just go with SmartLink Plus, and your open URL link resolver. So they're never required in EDS, so to speak. But they are useful because they provide more direct links to the PDF without having to rely on going through your link resolver. So the requirement in EDS is none. I'm going to separate this question into two questions. So I'm going to separate this question as how do you know when custom links are required in EDS, and another question of how do you know when custom links are required in FullText Finder. In FullText Finder, those links are almost always required because if you have your holdings selected that you do subscribe to this particular package, if you don't have a link to get to that package, then your users aren't going to be able to get there at all when they get into FullText Finder. So for FullText Finder, every single package needs to have a link of some kind, and those are usually already defined for you. You shouldn't, every package that we have enabled, every system-based package we have enabled in FullText Finder should have a link already associated with it. Now that said, you could potentially create your own custom packages in FullText Finder and holdings management. So for example, if I were in holdings management and I said, you know what, I want all of my print journal collections defined somewhere here. Well, that's not a system level collection that EBSCO knows about. I mean, we work with Elsevier to know what's in the Science Direct package, and we work with Gale and ProQuest even to know what's in the packages that they sell. That way our knowledge base is accurate whenever we're trying to figure out where you subscribe to a particular journal is from. But for your local print holdings, we don't actually know what you subscribe to there. So one thing we've seen some libraries do is in holdings management, they will create a custom collection that's a list of ISSNs and the date ranges for their print holdings there. And when they do that, they also have to define a link. So I might imagine this one. Let's say you have the magazine of fantasy and science fiction sitting on the shelves over there at the library at Eunice. One, that's pretty freaking cool. I'm kind of a nerd in that way. But two, if I happen to go through the FullText link resolver, I'd like to see a link that takes me to your catalog entry for the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. So I can see what the call number is, I can see what issues you have, that kind of thing. So when you're defining your local custom collection, putting in all of the ISSNs and the date ranges that you have these things from in that knowledge base, you'll also need to provide us with a link of how do we link to those items. And in this case, it may be, well, take the title of the article and construct a title search in LSU Eunice's Circe catalog. And that way it issues the search whenever the user clicks on that link and they get to the record for this particular item. So that's a case where you would actually have to go in and figure out what the custom link is. We would help you do that, but again, it's these rare circumstances where it's locally defined custom things that you have that you should be the one actually having to figure out if you've got the right custom link in place or not. All of the system defined ones should have the correct link there, and if you notice FullText Finder isn't getting you to the right location, you should really let us know because that's a problem that we ought to fix. Okay, next question. How do you know when it is no longer required? Well, if you stop subscribing to Bio1 journals, for example, there's no real use of having, I'll separate this into two again. How do you know when an EDS custom link is no longer required? Well, if you stop subscribing to Bio1 journals, you should probably remove that custom link from EDS because it's going to show up if it's in that Bio1 system-defined collection. So if you end up stopping subscribing to something that has a custom link, you should remove it. So that is one scenario. The nice thing about holdings management is the moment you deselect that from your holdings, it also will remove that link from the holdings management list of links. So you shouldn't have to worry about worry about it in holdings management. But in EDS, these custom links you do have to consider, okay, we just stopped subscribing to Math Signet. Let me get rid of this Math Signet custom link that's here. So that's one thing to consider. Let's see. What error do you get when the link is correct? That really depends on a lot of different things. It mostly depends on the target. So if that link is going out to Elsevier, Elsevier might give you that paywall where it gives you the metadata for the record, but then says you don't subscribe to this particular item. If the URL syntax just plain changes, you might get a straight up 404 not found error. So it's really hard to determine what error you're going to see when an EDS custom link is incorrect. But again, those EDS custom links are accurate most of the time. It's very rare that we get an EDS custom link be incorrect. Usually it's just whenever a subscription drops or something like that. What is the difference between links and holdings management and custom links and profiles? I think that's kind of what the whole shebang of this WebEx was about. So hopefully that's clear, is the ones in profiles are the ones that are appearing here in EDS, and the ones in holding management are the ones that appear in the FullText Finder link resolver screen, or are the ones that are using to forward the user to FullText. How come you sometimes see multiple custom links for the same resource? And the example that was given was sometimes there's a JSTOR all content, JSTOR all content dash a customer ID number. Sometimes it's JSTOR EJC dash free. There's a lot of different JSTOR custom links there. Chances are these were attempts at our support to make sure we get a custom link that matches up with your collections exactly. And again, they probably didn't want to mess up the existing custom links that you had live on your site, so they made a second one and tested with it rather than messing with all of the live links that might be on any number of your profiles. So as a safety precaution, whenever our support is trying to make a better custom link, they make a new one and edit that rather than editing the existing one. So you end up with multiple custom links on that profile. If you do see multiple custom links on the profile, one thing you can do is take a look and see, well, which ones are actually live on any of my profiles. Make a list of those, and then take a look at the list of custom links that are on your account. Any custom link that's in your account that does not appear in any of your profiles can probably safely be deleted. That's also something you can ask our support team to do, is say, look, we've got a lot of clutter in our account list of custom links. Can you check to see which ones are actually embedded on any of our profiles and remove the ones that aren't? That's something that we'd be happy to do for you too, to kind of help cut down on that clutter. But whenever you see multiple custom links, likely it's us not wanting to screw up the experience that your live users are having now while we debug and troubleshoot to figure out why is this link not resolving correctly. Let's see, how do we determine if a custom link is no longer being used and can be deleted? I think I just kind of answered that a little bit, is you take a look at the list that's actually live on the profile and you compare it to the list that's there. Again, feel free to ask us to do this for you, saying you don't like the fact that there are a lot of clutter there, and it makes it actually, I can understand from your perspective that if you want to add a custom link, well, now you've got two to choose from. Which one's the right one? It would be helpful if we did get rid of those ones that are no longer in use from your account, so you don't see it any longer.
I have a second part of the question to that, is that sometimes when we go into the canonical list, and I like how you said that because that really clarified that, we'll see EDS/JSTOR and then just a regular JSTOR, and sometimes the regular JSTOR is used in the EBSCO host profile, but the specific EDS/JSTOR is used in the EDS profile, but they seem to be the same link. Is it required that EDS custom links be prefaced with EDS, or can there only be one JSTOR custom link that works in both profiles? I mean, is there a difference when it's prefaced with that?
There is usually a difference. Now, if you actually take a look at the syntax and see that these are identical custom links, then you could actually use that one custom link, one copy of it on both of your profiles. However, the difference typically has to do with the type of metadata we have access to in EDS that we don't usually have access to an EBSCO host. So you might imagine, like for Science Direct is a great example. One thing we do for Science Direct is we don't just say, you might actually get ScienceDirect custom links underneath results where the metadata itself came from some other resource, Literature Resource Center here, for example. And in that case, we're trying to mix the metadata that we get from one resource to try to figure out if you have that article and link to that article on a different provider's platform. That's a scenario that happens in EDS that does not happen in EBSCO host databases. So sometimes there will be special syntax written into the EDS specific custom link. So there are circumstances where those links may be different, and they would be different to take advantage of the fact that EDS gets tons of metadata from a lot of people, whereas your EBSCO host database is limited to the metadata from that one database.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I actually put together the next question I had that I got earlier was, is there a flowchart somewhere that we could look at? I'm going to send you this deck that I put together for you guys, and apologies, you see, I had to get really good at animations for this to work, but hopefully this type of thing here where we kind of go through these links, is this something that would be useful for you guys?
ZZ said yes, very emphatically.
Okay. In that case, I'll make sure you guys have access to this, and I will also try to do it to where it doesn't have to be animated, because if you look at it unanimated, it is somewhat of a mess. So I'll try to clean it up to where it would look good printed out too, and I'll send this along. That way you can kind of help figure out where things are breaking down. So that kind of hits the questions that I was sent in advance, and I don't see any other questions in chat, so I'd like to open up now just to kind of open.
I'm going to unmute everybody right now, so I just want to let everybody know that, so everybody can kind of hold your breath. Okay, ZZ, you should be able to.
Eric, this is ZZ. I had a question about populating the ILL forms. Is the default for publication type or not? I mean, do we have to make a special request that we would like publication type of to be populated?
Yeah, let's take a look at an example one. I'm going to pop into a different site that I know that has Iliad set up, and that's my old hunting grounds at St. Edward's. Let me pop into here. I'm going to go to their linking. I'm going to go to modify. Here we've got links to ILL form. I'm going to go into that. So ILL. So I'm going to take a look at this particular one here. Here you'll notice that I've actually got an element of the Iliad custom link that says and genre equals. And typically, Iliad will be able to pay attention to this genre parameter to determine which form to send the user to. So here I go, all right, if there's an ISBN, then write book for genre. If there's not an ISBN, then write article for genre. So it's kind of that logic here that's populating the genre thing, the genre parameter that we send into Iliad. This could instead say something like form equals 10 and form equals 11. And it could say form or something like that, or maybe it just does something like this where the Iliad link goes to and form equals, and if there's an ISBN, it goes to 10, and if there's not an ISBN, it goes to 11. So there, I should probably hit cancel here before I accidentally screw up the interlibrary loan link of St. Ed's. But that's essentially how the Iliad links work, is based on the publication type or the presence of an ISBN. We can tell that it's a book, but if there is no ISBN, then we can then we pass it to the article form. There are some nuances that you can build into there, and if you want to kind of tweak that, we can work with you on figuring out what the right logic should be in constructing that URL. Does that help?
Yeah. So what you showed us is that the default?
Yes, it should be the default.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, that's one thing I didn't really talk about is where are these custom links? Do we have to build them all ourselves? So that's kind of an important thing, right? Louisiana State University. I'm just going to pick one site here. I'm going to go to linking. I'm going to go to, let me go to an EDS profile just so we're kind of in a place. So if I go into modify here, again, this is a list of links that's on this one profile. If I go to set up and maintain custom links at the top, that takes me to the canonical list of links. If I go to add new custom link while I'm on this canonical list, that's going to take me to a screen where I can either make one from scratch or I can copy from an existing one. Now, where it's going to look to copy from is both your own custom links that you've already made if you wanted to copy something you've made in the past, or it's going to give you the option to show other available custom links. This is going to give you that very long list of all of the custom links that we have defined and our publishers give us for EDS. So you can actually go through here and see that, there is actually, and I'm looking through full text ones. Let me switch over to ILL as a category, and I'll show other available custom links. Here I've got a couple of different ILL systems out there. So there's the Iliad. There's Iliad journal content only. That's for libraries that want to hard code in, only go to that journal form and only show it for journals. Some libraries have requirements like that. There are other ILL systems out there, and you can use these for those, but let's take a look at the generic Iliad all content one. So if I click on this, I can see that by default, the default is to have that and genre, and then that ISBN indicator to determine if it's a book or an article. So this is the default. And what we ask you to do whenever setting this up is change this to your actual Iliad URL. So iliad.lsue.edu or whatever it is here. So yeah, let me hit cancel here. So if I hit submit, that will add this custom link to the list of canonical custom links I have available in my account. But I'm going to hit cancel here because I don't want to add yet another custom link to your canonical list. That said, after you get a new link on your canonical list, the next question is, well, how do I get that one that I just added to the canonical list onto my EDS profile? So what you do there is you go to this list of things that are on your profile, and on this page, if I click on add new custom links, I get that canonical list of custom links, and I can select the one that I want to add to my profile. So I check this and I hit submit, and now I'll get it added to my profile. All right. So hopefully that helps.
That does. Thank you.
And again, for all of you on the WebEx, please do rely on support to help you with these things. This is a fairly complex system, and we feel like, based on the studies that were done with open URL link resolvers, that having this extra layer of custom links in EBSCO host is an important part of making sure that linking works really well for the end user. Again, you could simplify your lives. All of you could go in today, go into your EDS profile and kill every custom link except for the full text link resolver. And that would make your EDS profile just show PDF documents and full text binder link resolvers. But what you're doing there, while it will create a vast amount of simplicity here in this page, it's actually going to create some more complexity for your users as they get passed through the link resolver for a lot of things that we have a better link for. So I do encourage you to keep these custom links there and rely on us and hold us accountable for making sure those links work, because this is really one of the key selling points when we go out there and talk about EDS as it relates to other discovery systems, is the linking is super powerful for your patrons. Other questions I can help answer?
All right, I'm going to unmute everybody again just in case anybody has a question. Okay. Okay, well, it appears no one has a question. No one's typing anything, so.
Great. Well, if you have any other questions, either I can help. I know Lisa Jones has been around in the territory. She can also help. There are a lot of people that can help you with custom links. The first line of support is always going to be our support email address. That's where you're going to get the fastest response. I love helping, but I am frequently on the road and frequently very slow to respond to email. So I do encourage you to use support as they are trained to work with these custom links and get them working as needed. But again, thanks for your time, and it's good hearing y'all's voice, and I'm sure I'll see you around soon.
Yes, thank you. Awesome, Eric.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Now I can figure out how to stop the recorder.